Namaste, Pranam. Meditation on the Bhagavad Gita. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam-anusandadhami Bhagavad-gite bhavatveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Partha, which was included in the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Goddess, content in the 18 chapters and bestower of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Now, Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devakim Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. O son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. And today we take up the 44th shloka of second chapter, second adhyaya of the Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya Yoga. Sri Krishna is talking to Arjuna. Bhogaiśwvarya-prasaktānāṁ tayāpahṛita-chetasām vyavasāyātmikā buddhiḥ samādhau vidhīyate. Now again Sri Krishna is talking about these infirm in mind, the fickle-minded people. How at one point of time they will keep on just eulogizing the words of the Vedas. Next moment, they are so deeply, immersed in the worldly desires. All their activities in this life, they will focus only on having the pleasures and the lordships in the next life, heavenly pleasures. So what Sri Krishna talks about such people, their entire focus is on the bhogaiśwvarya-gatim, the pleasures and lordships, the enjoyment, all the glamour, the glories. So Sri Krishna says, bhogaiśwvarya-prasaktānāṁ. Bhogaiśwvarya-prasaktānāṁ is the hankering, deeply attached to all those worldly pleasures. Bhogaiśwvarya-prasaktānāṁ, extremely attached, extremely seeped in the fulfillment of those worldly desires and the worldly glories, fame, name and fame. Tayāpahṛita-chetasām. Taya is by that focus on enjoying the pleasures and the glories of these worldly desires. Apahṛita-chetasām, their minds are drawn away. Once we have this focus of only enjoying the worldly desires, and there is no one desire, your focus of desires also keeps on changing. Today this, tomorrow that, day after tomorrow something else. So that is the kind of jumping jack we become in focusing all our attention on the worldly desires. And then what happens? Apahṛita-chetasām. Our minds, they totally get drawn away. Drawn away from what? Drawn away from vyavasāyātmikā buddhiḥ, from the reasoning of being vyavasāyātmikā, the resolute, the determinate, our buddhi, our intellect, our reasoning becoming focused. We are deprived of that with all this kind of bhogaiśwvarya-prasaktānāṁ, getting attached to so many of worldly desires. Just the desire to enjoy the pleasures and the glories and the heavenly majesty, the lordship, me and mine, the aham. So our mind gets detached, gets drawn away from being one-pointed. Samādhau na vidhīyate, and then what happens? Under such circumstances, we cannot fix our mind on one-pointed objective. It keeps on scattering here and there. It keeps on jumping from one object to another. Then our mind becomes like those flies. One moment they are on the sweet meats, next moment they are sitting on the filth. There is no fixity of mind for them who cling to pleasure and power and whose discrimination is stolen away. They cannot focus, they cannot attain one-pointedness, and then all the frustration, then all the delusion, then all the kind of vishad that Arjuna has got into at the end of the first adhyaya, that becomes the condition of such people. Now, on these three shlokas that we have read in last 3 days, the 42nd to 44, where Sri Krishna has told about the ways of the worldly, Swami Chidbhavananda ji, he has commented upon this. The desire-ridden are those who have not risen to ethical and spiritual levels. They are not highly, in the higher realms. They have never taken to that path. They have never taken to the path of spirituality. They are the unrefined among the humans. Their sole aim in life is to hunt after vulgar enjoyments here and hereafter. Not only in this life, even in their next birth, their objective is to keep on enjoying those bodily pleasures, those worldly pleasures. That's it. Their learning, inquiry, and power of speech are all directed to this base end, to this, the basic instincts. The ritualistic portions in the Vedas pander merely to the low tastes of the crude happiness hunters. These people, they try to take only those portions of the Vedas, the Karma Kanda, which talk about how to attain the bodily pleasures, how to attain the heavenly pleasures by doing these Kriya Karma. Their focus is only on that. Not on, how to attain Samadhi, how to attain the self-knowledge, the Atma-jnana. Their focus is not on that. Their focus is on these lowly pleasures. Though the Vedas are the oldest literature in the world, all that they contain are not sublime and elevating. They have not, because it is a real, it is the universal truth that is given in the Vedas. If it is for those, there are also contents in the Vedas for those seeking liberation. But in the Karmakanda part of yoga, you will also find how to enjoy the pleasures of the world. And unfortunately, these people, they get stuck only to those portions of the Vedas and start talking about them in that flowery language. What Sri Krishna has told about Pushpitam Vacham. They talk only highlighting those Karmakanda aspect of the Vedas in justifying their wrong notions. the needs of the vulgar are also met in them. So that is the, because Vedas after all is a holistic, it is a comprehensive treatise, all these Vedas. You will find also the contents suitable for people seeking self-liberation, as well as there will be some portions for those unfortunate. After all, Vedas have to satisfy their, the physical worldly desires also. But those people, they just get caught into the web of that delusion, of the web of the Maya, and keep on focusing only on that limited portion of the Veda. Enjoyment of pleasure and happiness is not the goal of human life. The attainment of perfection, the attainment of supreme knowledge, the Atma Jnana is the supreme objective. The means for it is to be absorbed in Sankhya and Yoga. Rituals simply distract the mind. And with the rituals, you can never attain the samadhi. You can never get into the transcendental plane. And to highlight Sri Krishna's teaching in these three shlokas, Swami Chidbhavananda has given that beautiful teaching from Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. Sri Ramakrishna says, vultures soar high up in the sky, but its eyes are always on the carrion and carcass below on earth. Physically, the vulture might be soaring high up in the away from this worldly mundane life, but a vulture is a vulture. Howsoever high he may soar up in the sky, his entire focus, his eyes, they're always fixed on that carcass and the carrion, the skeletons, the filth which is there lying on the earth. However much one may be learned in the Vedas, as long as one's eyes are fixed on sense pleasures, one acts like a vulture. You may have got great knowledge reading the Vedas, but till the time one's mind is focused on the sense pleasures, that person is as good as a vulture, maybe soaring very high in the sky, but the entire focus is only on that filth which is lying there on the ground. Spiritual enlightenment is not to the one given to lust and greed. Unless and until a person rises himself above the bodily pleasures, about the monetary pleasures, the lust and greed, that is what Sri Ramakrishna always talks about. Unless and until a person rises above these two, there is no salvation, there is no liberation, there is no samadhi, there is no Atma Jnana, there is no enlightenment for that person. And that's what Sri Krishna has told us in these three verses, that how people they get away from that one pointed goal. They separate themselves from getting into the reality of the knowledge, getting into seeking the real knowledge. So that is what Sri Krishna has told, and next he is going to tell us then what should be our ideal in life. If this is the case of the person who is entangled in the worldly pleasures, who is entangled in enjoying the worldly pleasures, so what should be the way out? So that Sri Krishna is going to tell us in our next reading from 45th Shloka onwards of the Sankhya Yoga. Till then, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ram Krishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Swami.